Imagine losing your home in a fire. Awful, right? Now add losing every single document proving you owned it.
Yeah, that's just a nightmare scenario.
It happened to a man named Ahmed back in 2016. The red tape he faced afterwards was, well, hard to fathom. But what if that kind of loss, losing the proof, was basically impossible?
Okay, I see where you're going with this. Blockchain.
Exactly. That's the potential we're exploring today, looking at the source.
Right.
Our mission is pretty straightforward. Get to the heart of what blockchain is, why it matters for more than just crypto, and, what it might mean for you.
Okay, let's break it down. So, fundamentally, blockchain is like this shared digital ledger. Think of it like a notebook.
A notebook.
Yeah, but one that everyone in a network has an identical copy of. When something new is added, a transaction, some data.
Like sending money.
Exactly, or recording ownership, it gets written into all the notebooks at pretty much the same time.
And the really important part.
Well, the key things are, once something's written, it's permanent. You can't just erase it or scribble it out.
Yeah.
And there's no single boss in charge of the whole notebook.
Okay, so that's the decentralized bit I keep hearing about. Not one bank or government holding the master copy.
Precisely. It's spread out, distributed across maybe thousands of computers globally.
And that distribution, that's what makes it secure. How?
Because to cheat the system, to change a record, you wouldn't just hack one central server. You'd need to somehow hack and change the record on, like, a majority of all those computers simultaneously.
Which is
practically impossible. The amount of computing power and coordination needed is immense. It makes it incredibly tamper-proof compared to, say, a single database.
Okay, got it. So walk me through how an entry actually gets into this super secure notebook chain.
Sure. So it starts with a transaction. Let's stick with sending digital currency. You initiate it.
Right.
That action gets broadcast out to the whole network, all those computers or nodes.
Right.
These nodes then run checks. They have complex rules to validate if the transaction is legitimate, does the sender have the funds, is the request valid, etc.
Like digital accountants, sort of?
Kind of, yeah. Once enough nodes agree it's valid, the transaction gets bundled together with other verified transactions into a block.
A block, like a page in the notebook.
Good analogy. And when that page, that block is full, it gets sealed. Cryptographically sealed with the unique code, a hash.
A hash, like a digital fingerprint.
Exactly. And this hash is based on everything inside the block. Change even one tiny detail, and the hash changes completely. It's proof it hasn't been messed with.
Ah, okay.
Then, this sealed, verified block gets mathematically linked to the previous block, forming a chain, the blockchain.
This is where it gets really profound, I think. The source quotes Don Tapscott, author of Blockchain Revolution.
Oh yeah, Tapscott. What does he say?
He says, blockchain is not just a new technology, but a new model for governance and trust in a digital world. That's a huge claim.
It is, but it gets to the core of it. Think about trust. Normally, we trust institutions, right? Banks, governments, lawyers.
The middleman.
The middleman, exactly. Blockchain sort of flips that. The trust isn't placed in a person or an organization, but in the technology itself, the code, the mathematics, the distribution.
Because it's transparent and unchangeable.
Right. The system itself becomes the guarantee. You don't need to trust a central party quite as much.
And like we said, it's way bigger than just Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies.
Absolutely. That was just the first big application that caught everyone's attention.
The source gives some really interesting real-world examples. Supply chains.
Yeah, that's a huge one. It mentions Maersk, the shipping giant. They use blockchain, or have experimented heavily with it, to track containers globally.
All that paperwork must be insane.
It is. Bills of lading, customs forms, a total mess. Blockchain creates a single, shared, trusted record of where a container is and what's happened to it.
And the benefit?
Well, the source suggests it led to something like a 20% reduction in paperwork costs and errors for them. Faster, cheaper, more transparent.
Wow, 20%. That's significant. What else?
Well, think about medical records. Securely storing them, making sure they can't be tampered with, but are accessible when needed by the right people.
Okay, yeah. Privacy and integrity.
Or intellectual property. Proving you created something, a song, an invention, on a specific date. It's logged immutably.
Even things like electronic voting are mentioned, making results more verifiable and trustworthy.
Potentially, yeah, though that's complex. But the underlying principle is the same, creating a trusted record without relying solely on a central authority.
So if we boil it all down, the big takeaway seems to be this. Blockchain gives us a new mechanism for trust online, a shared, secure, hard-to-change ledger.
That's a great summary. It's a system where trust is sort of baked into the infrastructure.
Which really changes how we might handle anything of value digitally, not just money.
Absolutely. And that leads perfectly into the final thought posed by the source material, something for you, the listener, to really chew on.
Go on.
Do you think blockchain technology will fundamentally transform financial transactions as we currently understand them? Given this potential for built-in trust, what does that future actually look like?